Welcome back to another episode. After surviving the logistics chain, and thanks to the Home Depot Seeds program, we're looking at the Freeman 20-volt, 18-gauge brad nailer. You notice I didn't say 2-inch because it actually goes from 3/8 of an inch to 2 inches. In this video, we're going to unbox this, check it out, and we're going to compare it to the TNT pneumatic brad nailer. I know, it's a no-name brand. Does it compare? Could this possibly be better than that or that better than this? We're going to find out. Let's open this box, see what we have. We got a case. How nice. Soft-sided case, branded with Freeman on one side, not on the other. Carrying handles. This looks like it's a metal zipper with nylon. The actual zipper itself is nylon, but this is all metal. So let's pull this around. And what do we have? No packing material whatsoever, but this does have a layer of thickness to it, so I guess that protects it. So let's see what we got. We got a manual, multi-language manual. We have the actual brad nailer. It's got a molded on handle, front trigger. It's even got a belt clip on it. This is your magazine for putting in your brads. And it opens like this. 3/8 of an inch brads all the way up to 2-inch. Rubber tip for the trigger that engages. Over here is the adjustment. If this was pneumatic, you'd probably do it there. But since it's all electric, you make your adjustments as to how deep you want the nail to go in. What else? Oh, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a button here. That's your power button up on top. And then this button allows you to switch between two different nailing modes. In the first nailing mode, you press down on something that engages it, then you pull the trigger and it fires one brad, right? If you switch by pressing this button to this side, and that light LED would come on, then what happens is you can hold down the trigger, and as soon as you press down with the actuator, it fires. And it'll keep on firing as long as you're holding the trigger. So that's the difference between the two of those. I do like the fact that they have a power switch because once the battery attaches, and the battery attaches here, the unit is hot. So you don't want to accidentally fire this. So you sort of treat this like a gun. You don't carry it with your finger over the trigger, carry it away, because if you accidentally discharge, it could cause some serious injury. Anyway, so the power button engages everything. If you leave it just laying around for a while, it actually will auto cycle off, which is really nice. And according to this, it can do 1,400 brads on one battery. What else is in the case? It's a dark case. It's hard to see what's in here. There are two pockets. And on this pocket, we have a charger. Holds one battery, gives you status of when it's charging. It is a 2-prong polarized. What else? Same pocket reveals some demo brads. These are 1.5 inch. And this is all 18 gauge, which is the popular one for doing stuff around the house. Let's see, so that empties out this pocket, go into the next pocket, and here's our battery. It's a 2-amp, 20-volt, and it's molded on rubber, which is nice, so it doesn't go sliding anywhere. Some manufacturers do that, others don't. I actually kind of like that. And for a 2-amp, this is pretty cool. Most of them don't do this, but you get status charge on the battery level. It's so dark in here, there's actually one other item left, and that is 2 Allen keys, and those can be used here, 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 here. Where else? Here and here and here. So if you want to take this whole thing apart, I guess you could. I don't see why, but they're included. So what we're looking at here is the Freeman and my very, very cheap pneumatic TNT. And we're not actually trying to see which one is better, but just the difference between them. So in the pneumatic, you probably have to oil it before you use it. Some of the newer ones don't require oiling. Here's where you load in your brads, and I'm using the same brads that came with the Freeman, so we're going to there won't be any difference. And brads are basically wires where they flatten the top so that you have a little head on it, and it's got a little bit of a point on the bottom, and they're just kind of glued together. So the way these go in on the pneumatic is you press a lever, it opens up the slot, you drop them in, the slot closes, you lock it back into place, and all you have to do now is just add an air hose to it. On the Freeman, first off, we make sure the battery is not attached. Then we open this one back here, same kind of place, except this one's a lot easier to open. It's very easy, I like that. We take our same 1.5-inch brads, drop it, make sure it's all the way down. You see how this is crooked right now? You don't want that. So make sure it's at the bottom and you slide it all the way forward. If you've used it prior to this, make sure there are no brads caught up in there because you don't want to be shooting different style brads in the magazine. Then we close it, it locks into place. Now we can take our battery, come back here and drop it down the guide, and it snaps into place. With hands and everything away from this area, we're gonna come over to the power button, and we have a green light for power, and it's on single brad, which is the mode I want to be in. I have an old piece of trim off a door, a 2x4 underneath, so that should give us plenty of room to send the brad through without punching through. And over here is my camera person, and they're wearing the Husky gel knee pads, and we'll talk about that in the near future. We've connected air to the pneumatic, and on this unit we really don't have any adjustment. I can adjust the outflow of air, so this can be turned in different directions. So I always want that away from my face. You should wear eye protection, hearing protection. This one does not have an adjustment for the depth that the nail is going to go in, so that's done back at the compressor. So what we'll do is you get some scrap wood and you put a nail into it, you just rest, gently squeeze the trigger, and that's protruding a little bit too much. I want it flush or slightly below, so that means I have to up the air pressure on this. I've increased the air pressure, so again, you would be doing this on just your scrap wood. You press down and you pull the trigger. And this one is nice and flush. So I know now this is calibrated for what I need. Now I'm going to set this one aside, and we're going to calibrate the Freeman. And again, that calibration is done via the dial here. The unit is on. So let's do the same thing. Basically, you push down the tip so it's engaged and it's ready to fire. You don't hold this down because there's going to be some recoil to it. Just hold it in place and let the machine do the work. And as you can see, that's a little too tall. So I'm going to turn the wheel, maybe about a quarter turn, see what that does. And I squeeze. And it's still not enough. Give it another quarter turn. You see that engages the unit. And then when you saw the recoil on that, it's still a little too high for me. give it another turn. That didn't look any better, did it? It's almost there. And we gave it another bit of a turn. I don't even know that we got a nail there. Let's try over here. So I gave it a half turn. Let's see what it does now. Almost there. I can still feel it. Let's go to a clear area here, drop it again. Now that is flush with the surface. So now I know that the Freeman is set to go. So let's say this was a piece of trim that we were attaching. I could go along, and the best way to do this is actually to come perpendicular to the wood, because when the brad shoots in, if it hits something denser, it'll turn depending on what it's hitting. So chances are that if you're going this way, it might split out and you'll see the brad protruding on this side. You don't want that. But if you come in this way and it turns left or right, it's turning into the wood, which is a better thing. So here we go. Again, no hands near it, just rest, please, let the machine do the work. Ooh, that's very nasty. Inconsistent. I don't like this. Let's try again. Wow. Let's try this. Nope. So what I'm noticing is, let's turn this off, is that this is the actuator and the brad is way up in front. So if you're trying to come in perpendicular, it actually throws your nail in a lot further, which can be a disadvantage. On this pneumatic brad nailer, the actuator is in front of where the brads shoot out. While on the Freeman, the actuator is actually behind where the brads shoot out. So you have to take that into consideration when lining up to where you want the brad to go. I'm going to show you what a blowout looks like. Maybe. There it goes. That's a blowout where the nail protrudes. You don't want that. You want to keep them all in. So how fast can I nail with this at a time? You see, you have to pick up and reactivate. Now, let's set it over to the sequential mode. And remember, I can just hold down the trigger, and wherever I put it down, and you see there's some inconsistencies with that where it hasn't energized enough to send the nail all the way through. So now let's compare all that. Oh, by the way, there's a rubber trim on this. So this is the way you lay it down on its side. That way you don't change your setting by laying it down on this side. So now let's go over to the pneumatic. So I keep on calling this a very cheap pneumatic brad nailer because it came with a pancake compressor, which was only $100. So this was like a throwaway gift. And I kept it for years because nobody wanted to buy it, couldn't give it away. And then finally, it actually started coming in handy, and I kind of like it. It does its job. It only has one mode. But you see, it's very quick and pretty consistent with its nails, right? So, no depth adjustment here. It's all done via compressed air on the other end. So I kind of like this tool for what it can do, which is it's quick, it's a little loud, it's cumbersome because this hose has to go wherever this end goes. But as long as you got air, and right now we're running about 100 PSI into this unit, it works. And again, this is a no-name brand. It was just, maybe worth $10, but I've had great success with it. And I'm going to keep this. I like the Freeman. I like this more. We've disconnected the air hose. We pulled the battery pack so it's safe to to have the tools laying around. Actually a bit surprised at how well this did, even though my initial intent wasn't to compare these two, except to talk about how, you know, you may want to use this, because if you have an air compressor, then you probably have a couple of air tools. So getting something like this they're fairly inexpensive. That might be a better way to go if you're adding a tool. Of course, the problem with any air tool is you need the air hose, and that can get to be a pain in the butt. This is a hybrid hose, and it's quite flexible, and even with that, it just sometimes it binds and gets caught up on stuff. So, and you need the compressed air. Like I recently had to do a door, and I had to bring the compressor into the house to do that. So that was a pain in the butt. This tool, the Freeman, eliminates that, right? There's no hose. You just need a battery, and as long as it's charged, you're good to go. Things I didn't like about the Freeman were inconsistent. Like, yes, it can do a high rate, but because it needs to charge up the hammer or whatever to throw it down, it didn't do so well. This little guy here, as long as it had 100 PSI, it was consistent. This wasn't. The adjustment took a lot longer than it did on this little guy. What this has over the pneumatic is its portability. You know, you can, with my situation with the door trim, I would have just grabbed this and bang, bang, bang. I would have been done. Wouldn't have to haul an air compressor, wait for it to charge up and all that. So it does have its advantages, and you sort of have to decide, do I already have compressed tools and a compressor? Then you may want to go with something like that. If you have none of this stuff, then this might be better only because it's portable. But if you're expecting consistency and quickness, in my demonstration, the Freeman really didn't deliver that, and which is really surprising because I thought it would do so much better. There you have it. I don't pull punches on this. If you found this video interesting or useful, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, join the subscription team, and as always, thank you ever so much for watching.